Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Eichinger. I'd love to just chat, but really I think it's time for a little math lesson. So I'm going to get right to it. I'm starting on page 613, and you should have already looked at this page yesterday. It's on circumference. Hopefully you bother to focus here on all of these vocabulary words. You have to know that a circle is the set of all the points in a plane that are the same distance from a point called the center. I can do a diagram to show you what that means. If I put a point here and I say that that's the center, and then I go about a centimeter away and make another point, and then about a centimeter away and make another point, and another point, and another point, and another, and another, and another, and another, until I've gone all the way around. And I make all of these points going the same distance from that center so that I have so many points that they actually touch. I basically am creating the rim of the circle, that they're all the same distance from this center point. And then it talks about the circumference. Well, that would be the distance all the way around the rim. It's like perimeter for other shapes that aren't curved. And then the diameter is the distance from the rim through the center to the other side. So it's a straight segment. A radius is like a spoke. It just goes from here to here, from the center out to the rim, but it doesn't go from one side through the center and back out the other side. So you need to know that vocabulary, and hopefully you filled it in here, that this is radius, this is center, and then this is pointing to the diameter, meaning the whole length that goes from here all the way to there through the center. Then down here for the table, you had to fill in some information, and if you compared these for the two different size hula hoops, you could see that the comparison between radius and diameter is that it says describe the relationship between the diameter and the radius. The diameter, both of them, so the diameters are double or 2 times longer than the radius. And it's actually radii, which would be plural, because it's talking about both of them. And then it says describe the relationship between the circumference and the diameter. Well, if you could try to compare these, it's a little bit harder, but if you see that if you times this by 3, you get about 126. And 28 times 3, well, if 30 times 3 is 90, 28 times 3 is 84. And so it's just a little bit more than triple. And so the relationship between the circumference and the diameter is that the circumference is just more than 3 times the diameter. And then I'm going to move to the next page, if I can turn it. On this page, it goes on and talks about the relationship between radius and diameter that you should have already realized. The diameter d of a circle is twice the radius r. The radius r of a circle is half of its diameter. So you can get diameter when you double the radius, and you can get the radius when you take the diameter and divide it by 2. And then hopefully you did the got it's down here. If they gave you the diameter, then you had to divide it by 2 to get the radius. So if you take that and divide it by 2, you get 11.5 centimeters. I'm actually going to put an R here. For R, the radius equals 11.5 centimeters. Forgot it B, they gave the radius, so if you double it, you get the diameter. So 6 diameter is 6 inches. And then here they give the diameter again, so you divide it by 2 to get 8. So this time the radius is 8 yards. And then over here they gave the radius again, so you double that to get the diameter. So it's 10.4, 10.4, and this time it doesn't have a label, so it's just going to be diameter is 10.4 units, whatever it is. So when you have the radius, double it to make diameter. When you have diameter, divide by 2 to make radius. On the next page, it starts with the amount that's equal to pi. You need to realize that that symbol there is the pi symbol. You have it on your calculator, but it will also tell you that you can use 3.14 or you can use 22/7. If you punch in 22 divided by 7 on a calculator, top divided by the bottom, you'd get 3.14 something, 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 which is close to that. There is a pi key on your calculator, but you can just continue to use 3.14, 22/7. And it refers to this inquiry lab that was in the early pages before this chapter actually began. The notion of pi is from before, when we said down here the circumference is just more than 3 times the diameter. Early on, way back in ancient math, ancient Greeks actually, came up with the fact that every single circle, the distance around was 3.14 something, something, something times its diameter. So it's that way for every single circle that's a true circle. And so pi has become a number. The circumference of a circle is equal to pi times the diameter, or pi times twice its radius. So circumference is pi times diameter, or circumference is 2 of the radii times pi. It's always written 2 pi r, but it's okay if you do 2 times the radius to turn it into diameter, and then times it by the number you're going to use for pi. Down here they ask you to find circumference. In order to find circumference, you can do it 2 different ways. You can either use 22/7. It says here, find the circumference of the circle with a radius of 21 inches. Since 21 is a multiple of 7, then go ahead and use this. So 2 times pi times the radius. Well, if you do 2 times pi times the radius, the reason they wanted you to do that is because you can cancel what you can then. When you put this over a 1, you can cancel and then get that the circumference is about 132. Down here, they're asking you to continue using it the fraction way. So problem E would be, if they're giving us the diameter, you just take the diameter times the number that we're using for pi. Put that over a 1, cancel what you can, and multiply across. Bet you haven't heard that in a while. So then it becomes 220 inches. And then for the next one, if it's 7/8 of a foot, but this time that's the radius, now you have to do 2 times pi times the radius. And then cancel what you can and multiply across. 1 times 22 times 1 is 22. 1 times 1 times 4 is 4. 4 fits in 5 times with 2 fourths left, which becomes 5 1/2. 5 1/2, the label will be feet. Okay, so sorry, I was paying attention to my paper and not the camera, so I didn't realize you didn't get to see all of that. All right, so then here on the next page, they just give a word problem sample. Big Ben is the famous clock. The diameter of the clock is 23 feet. That means the diameter of the clock is about as wide as our classroom. Find the circumference of the clock face, round to the nearest tenth. So since they gave the diameter, circumference is pi times diameter. This time they want you to use 3.14 times that, and you'd get 72.2 when you round it to the nearest tenth. Here it says a circular fence is being placed around a tree. The diameter of the fence is 4. How much fence is used? This time it would be pi times 4, which is what, 12.56, but then it says round to the nearest tenth, so we'll round that to 12.6 feet. And before I move on, I'd probably have to punch that in, just make sure that I didn't get that one wrong. Let's see, 12, 20, 26. Yep, that's okay. And then I'll just run through these next few. If you have the diameter, in order to get the radius, you would divide by 2, so it's 1.5 meters. If you have the radius, you double it and get the diameter. If you have the diameter, you divide by 2, get the radius. For here, it says you could use either that or that, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. For this one, going the whole way across, I would probably do 3.14 times 15, and then I'm going to reach for my phone over here, my other phone. I did have to buy a new phone because Verizon does not work in Kentucky. So yesterday, as I was trying to see about how I could video, I found out I needed AT&T service to function down here in Kentucky. So we have a new extra phone. So anyway, number 4, I would do 3.14 times 15. It ends up being 47.1. So the answer is 47.1 meters, and I do not have to round that. For the next one, because this is 7, and that's halfway across the radius, I would need to do 2 times pi. This time I'm going to choose to use the fraction, because I'm going to be able to cancel, because this is a 7. So it's kind of random when it makes more sense to do it that way. Now if I go across, I would get 44 over 1, which is just plain old 44. So 44 yards. For the last one, a circle has a circumference of about that and a diameter of about that. What is the relationship between the circumference and the diameter? Like for all circles, the circumference is just more than 3 times the diameter. Okay, so there you have it. When it says how confident are you about finding the circumference, I am very confident. How confident am I about doing technology? Not so much, but that's okay. I do want to point out right here while I'm looking at it where it says this little purple tutor. If you go to your online book, there's videos where that can help you when I don't have a video for you. Know that you can click online, and your math book is in your waffle under like all of your apps. Okay, I've got to go. This is getting too long and I won't be able to get it downloaded very well, because if I haven't mentioned it before, yes, internet in Kentucky is difficult. However, self-isolating is not difficult because there just aren't that many people. So I don't have to worry about getting cooties. Looking on the bright side, I hope to see more of you soon. Hoping to pop in tomorrow to the Google Hangout that Miss Pottinger's putting out. So anyway, take care. Miss you. Bye.